This video is going to go over a lot of information. Please don't panic. You're not being tested on it. But everything being presented here is truly being shared with you to help you expand your understanding of what all is possible for us as 21st century teachers to reach our students, to create environments that empower them to go out and grow more gray matter and be involved and be engaged and present in their own learning and the learning that's taking place around them so they can continue to add to the exponential growth of knowledge in this world. Knowledge, skill, understanding, ability. So again, there's a lot here. You're probably going to want to take notes. That's why this is a video, so you easily can start and stop and start and stop. We'll be talking about social learning theory. We'll be talking about Vygotsky, Bandura, Maslow, Wenger, Engstrom. We'll be talking about Bloom's. There's a lot here. So if you don't have a cup of coffee, you might want to get one before we get started. Have a pad and paper. Don't worry, you're not expected to memorize all of this, but you will be using all of this information in different ways, whether it's experiential, or you'll be comparing and contrasting, or even if it's through pure reflection. There's a lot of power in active reflection. We're living it so we can better role model it as we facilitate it for our students. What we're discussing here is incredibly relevant for both the K-12 world and higher ed instructors. So here we go. We're going to start with Lev Vygotsky. Vygotsky is huge in the world of constructivists, constructivism, constructivism, V for verbal. Language is our greatest learning tool, V for verbal. Lev Vygotsky is the father of a concept we call the zone of proximal development. Visualize this. It's not about us as instructors pouring knowledge into a student's head. It's about us guiding and facilitating the experience of learning something. We as instructors, we facilitate and guide the introduction of a skill or concept. We help the individual through the development of their understanding. It's not, here it is. It's, let's play with this tool. Let's try this. Now, here's a visual to put in your head, blah, 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 blah. What we're working toward is we are guiding the learning process. Individual problem solving with application of skill or concept. Not we're just going to talk about this. I, as your instructor, am going to guide you through experiences where you will be applying and experiencing. Collaboration in the ZPD is huge. Whether it's individual with concept and tool, whether it's individual with other individuals who are trying to learn it. But the point is, you start working with, again, tools, artifacts, others trying to learn, others who are skilled at it, so that eventually you are able to apply the skill or knowledge independently. It will be something that will become a part of you. Here is a great visual. Again, our goal within the realm of the ZPD is to give enough instruction, guidance, facilitation, and the right tools to help that individual learner go from where we all start, what I can't do, and it's not because I don't have the ability, I just haven't been introduced to it yet. What I can't do, then we come in, what I can do with help. And again, the help can be guidance, facilitation, different tools, simulations, experiences. That process empowers the individual learner to then move into what I can do. Because I've rehearsed and experienced and tried and fallen on my face and gotten up and tried again and seen how the experts do it and seen how other novices do it, that help afforded me the ability to create understanding, and now I can do this by myself and I can move forward and build upon it. We move from ZPD to Bandura. This truly is one of my heroes, Albert or Alberto. Social learning theory. Now, this is a blanket terminology. Please don't fall into the trap that many people first do. You want to think of social learning theory as an umbrella concept. And I know you should never read to people in a movie on a PowerPoint, so I'm going to break 2 rules at once. Here we go. Social learning theory emphasizes the importance of observing and modeling the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. Got it? This is huge. This is all encompassing. Thus, it focuses on learning by observation and modeling. Crucial. The theory did, as you will also get in the video from Dr. Ian from Australia, originally evolved from behaviorism, but it went further. It now includes many of the ideas from cognitivists and social cognitive learning, but there are differences in those individual concepts. So social learning theory is considered, again, an umbrella, but it's the social concept. And the cognitive is important because there is an awareness. This is why Bandura is so huge if you study criminology or sociology. It's that observation and modeling. It's the idea that if a window is broken or graffiti is put on a building, the longer it takes for someone to deal with it, fix it, remove the graffiti, fix the window, there is an algorithm as to how fast more destruction and crime will begin within that neighborhood, because it all goes back to observation and modeling. People don't care in that neighborhood. Obviously, this is a place we can cause trouble, get into trouble, blah, blah, blah. Social learning theory is the umbrella which combines modeled behavior with the innate thinking, feeling, experiences, wants, desires, needs, fears of the person, combines that with the environment. Again, think of the window. If I live in a neighborhood where I see that people can break windows, nobody bothers fixing them, and nobody gets in trouble, well, then I might as well, if I've got nothing else to do, or if there's something in that window I want, and I have learned through other modeled behavior that there's no thing to fear by doing it, even if it goes against what I believe. If there's something I need badly enough, well, maybe it's worth it. Modeled behavior, the innate proclivities of the individual combined with the environment to create understanding. Observation and modeling plus myself learning. We move on to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I know anyone who's ever taken an EdPsych 101, yeah, Maslow. Please don't give Maslow short shrift. No single motivational theory makes sense by itself. Absolutely crucial. Which is, again, part of the reason why we're going through all of these various theories, whether it's social learning theory, we touch on behaviorism. But that's very dangerous in the blended or online world, because we start moving away from teaching and facilitating and taking advantage of all that the distance and the technology offers us, and it becomes more like rote learning, and it turns into 1, 2, 3, step, 1, 2, 3, answer my test, you're done. That is not 21st century learning. You guys already know that. Moving on. The motivation theory merely provides a framework with which to understand the motivation of an individual as they endeavor to attain the object of the activity. The object of the activity. Motivation can change depending on what is the particular object of the activity. And again, we want to hop back. Observation and modeling. And now we have the opportunity to afford observation and modeling in the real world. Anybody out there going, oh, I see, she's leading us toward communities of practice. Yes, I am. All right. So observation and modeling can indeed have a huge impact on the motivation of an individual as they endeavor to obtain different objects of different activities. So here we go. Here is the hierarchy of needs. But you'll notice it's a 21st century hierarchy of needs. Look at our basic needs. Comfortable with online tools, ability to navigate within the environment, ability to get basic information. Oh, this is both for blended and fully online. Yes, it is. Maslow is just as important today as he was 20 years ago. Whether it's face-to-face, whether it's a blended environment, or whether it's fully online. Basic needs. If your student is more focused on just how to navigate the tools and get around and find their way in and remember what their password is, how are they ever going to focus on the learning you're trying to facilitate? All right? We move up from basic needs to safety needs. Set limits and rules. Your privacy is respected. These, again, are crucial. We cannot expect our students to be motivated to be fully engaged in their own learning if they don't feel safe. Then we get to relationship needs and esteem needs. Do you provide timely feedback? I would have to say time and time and time again, consistently. This right here, esteem needs with timely feedback and facilitation, is the number one issue that students have across the board, because many of them have grown up in a gaming environment. And if they don't get to see you every single day, your words, your images, your smiley faces, your yes, here's the rubric, I filled it out for you, your communication, your presence gives them a sense of not just safety, but okay, all this effort, there's somebody who cares. If we want to combine this with studies on resiliency, which is particularly important for those of you who might be working in blended or online environments with students who are there because they have not been able to succeed in a quote-unquote traditional environment, your ability to let that student know that you are there for them. You may not be sitting next to them in a classroom, but your feedback is genuine and consistent and detailed. Resiliency, that helps someone know there's a reason to keep going. We are social creatures, and if we feel like nobody gives a hoot and there's no reason to keep going, we won't, especially if there's other things vying for our attention, which we know there are. So please take the esteem needs very carefully. That doesn't mean, yay, you're fabulous, you're wonderful. It means, I've read your paper, I can see where you've really worked hard. There's a couple points in here that we could do better on. Come on, let's work together on this. Meaningful, timely feedback. Don't leave your students hanging. And this is where we want them. Self-actualization, the ability to own their learning process, which again, you will be able to make even more connections after watching the John Seeley Brown video this week. All right? So Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the 21st century learner, absolutely crucial when we talk about social learning theory. Blooms. You have an activity this week, and I tell you flat out that even though most people do think of Blooms in this, and I know, it's considered a linear process, but it's not. Learning is not a linear process. I'm sorry if that makes anybody's head explode. Well, I'll send you a Band-Aid. It's not. And this is more of a tango than it is a line. These are all different components of our learning process. Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing. But you don't always start with remembering and work your way up. Now, granted, when we reach the point where the part of the learning is not just the rote memorization, right? And there's going to be some of that. The remembering is important. This is considered, and for good reason, creating and evaluating our higher level cognitive skills. There is no argument there. But every part and all these delicious verbs that work within are absolutely crucial for the whole of the learning process. Now, what does this have to do with social learning theory? Let me pull up a website. This beautiful taxonomy of all the different action verbs I will have posted in the class for you. But what I'm looking for is this guy. This guy. Let's be clear. Within the whole of understanding and applying Bloom's taxonomy of learning, there are three domains. There is the cognitive, the knowing. There is the affective, which is the emotional, which is huge. And a lot of people call the third psychomotor. I actually call it behavioral. the ABCs of learning: the affective, the behavioral, and the cognitive. The affective, the emotional; the behavioral, the psychomotor, the manual or physical; and the cognitive. All three of these domains of learning and doing and experiencing, all three are relevant and meaningful and present inside Bloom's taxonomy. And again, this is how you usually see it, with remembering being the base level. Then you move up to understanding, then you do applying, and then, okay. But again, not linear. Please don't fall into the rookie trap of thinking that it always has to be linear. Particularly if we want to go back to Vygotsky and think about the ZPD. You may start by applying. And because the application doesn't go very well, or it's confusing and you don't really know what you do, you start to analyze what went wrong, which helps you realize there's terminology, there's stuff you need to remember, which does help you build a better understanding. And then maybe you start creating something parallel to give you an opportunity to apply again, at which point you would go back into evaluating and analyzing, and then maybe creating again. So think of it as a tango, not a linear process. That's Bloom's. You will be playing around this week with Bloom's digital taxonomy wheel and knowledge dimension. With what I've just shared with you as a base, recognize you do want to read the information, but explore conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, metacognitive knowledge, factual knowledge, cognitive knowledge. All right, so mostly what you're focusing in on here is indeed the C, the cognitive. Apply, analyze, evaluate, create, remember, but don't ever, please, as you look through the various activities, look for the A, look for the affective. Social learning theory, we want to think about observation and modeling. We want to think about perceptions within the activities, right? Think about the affective as well as the behavioral and the cognitive. Recognizing that those three domains live together empowers us all. All right, so again, you have an activity where you're going to play with this, but let's go back to our PowerPoint. And FYI, for anyone curious, this is indeed what we based the ideal model for your learning experience. Everything that you do as a Brahman student truly is based upon an objective from Bloom's revised taxonomy. Now we get to the ooey gooey chewy center of it all. Communities of practice, not professional learning communities. People confuse the two all the time, and they are incredibly different. Wenger, and you have some resources from Wenger to play with as well. Communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. Passion. Professional learning communities are usually built upon serving a single issue, trying to solve a problem. This is not about trying to solve a problem. Communities of practice really are bringing together the individuals and the artifacts and the language, all of these folks who are engaged in something that they want, enjoy, love, want to do. The John Seeley Brown video is going to illustrate this beautifully. Let's think about this. Within your classroom, whether it is a fully online one or we're talking blended, so you're using online, whether it's single program or just the whole wide world as it is, what is the practice your students will engage in with knowledge gained from the course you're teaching, the subject you're focusing on? Think about it. Again, it's very parallel to the concept of ZPD. This is the practice they will engage in. Learning is a process, but are we going to make it an artificial one? Or are we going to make it a real practice? Do you want a doctor operating on you who's never been around other doctors, never heard the way doctors speak, never watched the way they hold a scalpel? You want your students engaging with real life practitioners, from the little guys to the big guys. So, what are all the various tools we as instructors can bring to their experiences to let them practice that engagement within the course, within the subject, within the learning process? Dewey in the 30s. Learning is not an escape from life. School is not apart from life. School and learning are part of life. Get those students engaging with real experts. Join LinkedIn. Why don't you join LinkedIn? Look around for the people you respect. Link in with them. Look what people they're linked in. Look at the groups they're in. I do it all the time. Daniel Pink, I linked in with him, and I now follow every group that he's following, and I love it. Several other people. Look for what the practitioners are doing. How can I, as an instructor, facilitate participation? How do I get my students out of their own head and into the community of practice of the world that they're studying? Well, you tell me. As a 21st century educator, there are no limits. This is a beautiful visual. Again, just like the concept of the ZPD, becoming a real member of a community of practice, becoming a real mathematician, becoming a real biologist, becoming a real doctor, becoming a real anything is a process. And we all start as newbies, all of us. Whether it's a second grader learning subtraction or it's the guy getting his PhD, we all start as newcomers. So if we have mediating tools, email, videos, websites where stuff is posted and concepts are being shared and videos are there for us to see and listen and watch, simulations, we are using those tools. We're building relationships with the old timers. We're experiencing the activities that they really do. We're forging identities that help us. You know what? I can do math. I'm kind of a mathematician. I didn't think I was. I didn't see myself as one. But now that I've been playing in this program and I got to go deep inside and experience what it's like inside the number line, I have an identity. I begin to see myself. Affective, observation and modeling. I begin to see myself as someone who can do this. The artifacts, again, whether it's a pencil or it's a piece of paper, how I fold it, how I write my name, how do other people do this who are in this community of practice? The community of practice body of knowledge. This concept of journey from peripheral participation. I want to study Jewish theater. I don't know much about it, but how am I going to learn? Listen to the jokes, listen to the recordings, go to the different theaters, see what they're seeing, watch old movies. Start to forge an identity. I start to recognize the names and the people, the artifacts. I will never look at a banana peel the same way. They are now the #1 humorous tool in the world. And then become a member, a fully participating member. Sit down and have a chat with Molly Cohen and make Molly Cohen laugh. I became a member of the community. This is what we can do for our students. And now, virtually, email, video chats, you name it, guys, using programs constructed by these experts. Carol Dweck is one of my heroes. If you haven't read the book Mindsets, I wish I could put it in this class, but I don't want to make you spend any more money. She created a program called Brainology where she put all of her expertise into a series of videos and fun games for kids. My little guy is becoming a member of the community of people who understand fixed versus growth mindsets because of playing in Brainology, because he's got the information from the old timer. He's doing the activities that she's done to help reach the point she's at. He's forging an identity as someone who really can control his own brain and help it grow and learn. He's doing the tools and playing with the artifacts, and he's gaining the body of knowledge and becoming a fully participating member of the community. Okay, don't anybody panic. Angstrom tends to freak people out because it's very, very, very complex and rich and delicious. This is Angstrom Light. But activity theory, as a social learning theory, offers us some great concepts. Think of it as Bandura exponential. We have to take into consideration the context, the diversity of thought, the history, the tension between what I thought I knew versus what you're trying to teach me, and the transformation that the learning will create, cause, if you will, inside the individual learner. All of this takes place when we're learning something. The context of the learning, is it just pulled out of thin air, or is there a reason that now we're moving on to the Nixon administration? Is there diversity of thought? In almost everything there is. Do we address it? Because by addressing diversity of thought, we're usually helping students be able to find their own voice to the questions that they may not even be able to voice. What is that student's particular history, and how does that history in any way, shape, or form relate to the history of the subject we're talking about? What about the tension between what I thought I knew, what I think this subject is supposed to be, versus what you're trying to teach me? If I come in and algebra is always difficult, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. You can teach me all the diversity and all the different contexts and all the history you want. If I'm having that much internal tension, affective, behavioral, and cognitive, there's never going to be a transformation because I won't allow it to happen. My environment will make it very difficult if I'm in an environment where everybody says algebra is horrible and awful and no one can ever learn it. This is a model of the activity theory. Again, social learning theory. The community is crucial. The mediating artifacts, whether they're text or video or simulations, Khan Academy, whatever you want. Here's the subject. Here's the object. This is what I'm trying to learn. We all start out here. We're all newbies. We enter the world where we have to deal with, again, the community that does know this stuff, the division of labor within. How do we learn? What's the experience? Who does this stuff? How do they really do it? What are the rules within the people who know how to do this? What are the rules of the domain? All of this back and forth and up and down, all in pursuit of my outcome. Learning, being able to do something, being able to try something that suddenly opens the door to a whole new level of understanding and questioning. All right? So as we move deeper, we always want to think application, because there will be moments where we're not prepared. We thought we were, but a student will ask a question or something that they thought they understood. There's suddenly a hole in their learning. Something they thought they knew suddenly completely falls apart, and we have to start at the beginning but from a different place. That's all good. Vygotsky, Bandura, Maslow, Wenger, and Engstrom. Of all of these, Engstrom is the one you're probably going to deal with the least. And that's okay, because it is the most complex. But if it turns you on, go for it. Do more digging. Bandura is my life's blood. Maslow I return to all the time. And Vygotsky is right there, sitting next to me. Every time I design, I reevaluate, I teach, I assess. So there you are, my friends. That, plus the other videos this week, should give you a lot to chew on, a lot to play with, and a lot to blog about. Ding, ding, ding. I'm an email away if there's any problems. Thank you for your time and attention.